Camilla, great to chat with you today. Wow, last night's episode was pretty intense. How are you feeling now that everything has finally aired?
I'm relieved now that it's aired. I did my live tweeting last night and I knew that it was, obviously I knew what was going to happen in the episode, but my Twitter just like completely blew up last night. I'm happy that it aired because now I can speak about it. That's why I wanted to do like an after interview to recap all of the craziness.
Now we're going to get into everything that went down with Joe, but we have to start off by fans were really nervous that Owen might have died in the crash. How hard was that for you to keep that spoiler under wraps that he survived, as well as the plot twist that Dr. Hayes left Gray Sloan after what went down in the crash?
Well, it was really hard. And like, I think that because we're so far ahead, so episode 9 aired last night, we're currently about to film 16. So what's difficult about it is like even just taking pictures, right? It's like, I want to take a picture with Owen. It's like, no, I can't do that. So I'm glad. So sometimes when these episodes air, it's just like a relief because there are big spoilers that, you're always worried about spoiling for the audience. But there's so much that also happens from now until what we're filming that I feel like I always have 100 things I have to keep secret. So that's one thing I don't have to keep secret anymore, but there's a million more things currently.
I can imagine it probably feels like you're watching it for the first time after you've been filming for so long. It feels like you're getting a refresher when you're rewatching it the night of.
Yeah, there's stuff that it's interesting when you rewatch it because there's things that you forget because we filmed that, I think before Christmas. Was it before Christmas? Yes, yeah, it must have been way before Christmas. And yes, it was in early December. And watching it back, you forget things. So even I'm like on the edge of my seat, like, wait, what just happened? So it's like I get to rewatch it as an audience member myself.
So getting into last night's episode, things left off pretty steamy with Joe and Link. What do you think it is about them that fans love so much?
Do they love them? There was some very
I love them. So
you do? You're okay. Well, listen, I think that they both deserve love. And I think that they have a lot of love between them already. I mean, I think that, they've been friends for a very long time. And that can be the basis of like a good relationship. But I think that it's a little messy, right? Because, he still has feelings for Amelia and it's as always with the Grey's Anatomy, it's very complicated. So they jumped right in last night together and we'll just have to see where it goes.
That was actually my next question because the trailer for next week's episode teases that things might be getting a little bit complicated between Joe and Link. Are you rooting for them to be endgame personally?
Oh, wow, that's such a good question. I'm rooting for them both to be happy. I don't know if that's with each other. The problem right now, I think, is that Joe her feelings are strong and they've suddenly just kind of changed for Link. And I think that, she needs to express them, or in the trailer you saw, it's like she needs to express them or she needs to kind of stop what they're doing. I think that it's hard. I want, like, part of me wants them to be together and part of me just loves them so much as friends. So I think it'll depend on where the writers take it all. That'll change my opinion a little bit, I think.
Definitely. And I know you can't give away any spoilers, obviously, but can you tease what's to come for Joe for the rest of the season?
Oh my goodness. I know I keep saying the words messy and complicated, and I know it's Grey's Anatomy, so that always happens. But it gets really messy and very complicated for Joe. She is juggling her work life and her baby, so you see a lot of that happening. There's a decision that she makes later in the season about her kind of has to make about her career a little bit. That's interesting that we're actually about to start shooting right now. And to do with her love life, I will just say it only gets more complicated. It only gets more complicated as it goes by.
Well, Grey's always serves up, I feel like, the best plot twist. So we're excited to see what happens. Now, yes. I've got to ask, I saw recently that Jesse Williams said that he would be interested in returning to Gray Sloan. Would you like to see him back on the show?
Yes, and I would love to see Jesse direct as well. Like he's directed a couple of our episodes. So I would love, even if it's to have him back and direct us, because he's a fantastic director. Yeah, I mean, he's part of, the Grey's Anatomy family. And I feel like, people always show up, and maybe he can come back with Sarah Drew, like the two of them. I don't know, it'd be amazing. I'm just wishful thinking, but yes, I'm sure, I hope at some point he returns, but I would also just love for him to direct an episode for us.
And that kind of leads into my next question. I know during the pandemic, Grey's especially has really delivered when it comes to bucket list characters coming back to the series. I mean, some pretty shocking cameos that have happened over the past couple of years. But who would you personally like to see come back on the show, even if it's just for a cameo?
I always say this because I'm biased and I absolutely adore her, but Jessica Capshaw. But now that Joe's an OB, I really would love Arizona to come back. I would love her to come back. I'd love her to have scenes with Joe and sort of mentor her, because Joe would have so much to learn from her. So she would be a fantastic character, I think, to return.
I know that Justin Chambers exited the show, but you can never say never when it comes to Grey's. Would you personally want him to come back one day?
I feel like Joe would just be heartbroken a little bit again. I wonder what that would be like. I mean, the breakup was so brutal in a letter. Like, what can you say? I would want to know, like, how, explain yourself.
I feel like some viewers are left wanting some more closure, I feel like,
Yeah, I think that one thing that has been interesting is that Joe has, and this happens in real life, and I've said this before, what's been interesting for her, sometimes you don't get that in-person closure at the end of a relationship, and that person just leaves. And so I think it's been an interesting storyline to play, where what happens when you sort of have to give yourself that closure? Like, how do you work through that? So it's been a journey for Joe, where she's had to find that herself.
That's so true. That's so very true. I feel like a lot of times in TV shows and movies, there's always like a perfect bow put on things. So that's
it gets like neatly wrapped up, and that didn't happen here, and it doesn't happen in life. So it's what I think it's interesting to show, what if you're just suddenly left and you don't get to have that conversation with that person, you don't get to yell at them or scream at them, and you're just left to pick up the pieces by yourself. How do you move through that, which is the journey that we've seen her.
And I was going to say also, I feel like seeing characters go through that, like seeing Joe go through that, I feel like probably resonates with a lot of viewers. And I know that they've shown you a lot of support on social media. What has it been like reading those types of messages of support from your fans who can relate to what Joe went through?
I think the fans are just incredible. And what I love about it, what I love about the fandom of Grey's Anatomy is our characters are really complicated, and we don't always do the right thing, quote unquote. And these characters make mistakes. We make big mistakes. And I love that the fandom seems to always embrace them still, even though they're messy and complicated. And, Joe's had her ups and downs, and the fandom support behind the character just really touches me.
Now, I know you just mentioned that the characters are messy and complicated, and also like, I feel like a very realistic portrayal of what humans are like. What was your reaction when you heard about Owen's bombshell revelation that he shared while he was in that car?
Oh my God. There was a part, I think reading these scripts, our table reads are really funny because they're over Zoom right now. And so we're muted when everyone else is reading. But if you could unmute us, I think everyone was like, what are you doing? Don't say it. No. It's wild, and it's going to take him on a journey, and Teddy along with it. So it's a great storyline. Of course, I didn't want him to say anything, but it makes for great drama that he spilled the beans.
So true. I feel like when I was watching that, I feel like when he admitted that, I feel like he didn't think that he was going to make it. Like he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't. He definitely didn't think he was going to make it. And he did. And now he has to live with that confession.
Yeah. I also have to ask, your longtime co-star, Ellen Pompeo, she's hinted in the past that she might be in the future ready to say goodbye to Grace Sloan Memorial Hospital. Do you see a world where Grey's could go on without her?
That's a great question. I mean, it's really hard to imagine
Mhm.
Meredith Grey leaving. And I don't know what that world would look like. But at the same time, we've had so many people, leave on the show, Sandra Oh and, Patrick Dempsey.
Mhm.
So I think the writers do a great job of sort of, the characters coming and going, but a world completely without Meredith Grey, I haven't myself thought about what that would look like.
Yeah, I feel like you said, it could happen, but it would be such, I feel like it would almost be a different show in some ways, you know?
I feel like, yeah, I would always hope that, that character would hop back in if that ever happened. But those are conversations that I'm not privy to, but um, but yeah, I think it's hard to imagine, Gray Sloan without Gray.
Very, very true. I feel like there's been so much that's gone on at that hospital. It's like one constant that's been there has been
Yeah.
Ellen. So yeah. Now I know you mentioned Joe has been balancing motherhood this season. I also have to ask, I follow you on social media and I know
Yeah.
fans love to see the sweet updates that you share with your little ones. How has motherhood been since welcoming your second child?
Bananas. It's absolutely bonkers. Everyone, two is crazy. But what I love about my kids right now is Lucas is 18 months and Hayden is about to be 5, which is wild. And they really love each other. And that's like, I was worried that having a second one, they're going to be arguing and fighting and, and they just are like best friends. It's so
Mhm.
sweet to see. And Hayden's very caring towards Lucas, and I feel like it's just, yeah, I mean, I'm exhausted, obviously, because all moms are. Um, but they're precious together. And yeah, I'm very lucky to have them both.
And that's such a special age, I feel like, especially when they're so close in the same age. I feel like that's just like a special time.
Yeah, it's really sweet. The under 5 right now is really sweet for, yeah.
Now, last question, kind of pivoting back to the show. What can you tease about the upcoming episode, and could you summarize it in one word?
Oh, what? That's hard. Can I summarize a Grey's Anatomy in episode in one word? Uh, okay. In the next episode, well, I can tease this. In the next episode that is, Joe has to work with Amelia,
Mhm.
which is like doesn't really often happen, and of course it happens in the next episode. So it's that makes for an interesting, little interesting friction. And Karina DeLuca is back to give Joe some advice on the situation with Link. She's got good insight and can kind of clock what's going on. And then one word, I would say, I keep saying complicated, but that's the only way. If I have to sum it up, it's just so messy. There's so many things going on. I'm gonna have to say complicated. Keep using that word, but you guys will understand when you watch the episode.
It's a good word. I feel like complicated and dramatic are the two words
Yeah,
I always think of.
Maybe conflicted. I'll use a new one. How about conflicted?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Well,
That's
I'm so excited.
many characters.
I'm very excited to see what happens. The season really, the mid-season really got off to like a really wild start. So I'm excited to see how everything unfolds. And, I'm always rooting for Joe and wishing the best for you as well.
Thank you. Me too. I root for her. I want her to find love and I want her to find, her person.